Hey guys, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. In this video, we're going to be addressing the question, how many witches and wizards are there? Not just how many attend Hogwarts, and not just how many are there in the UK, I'm talking about how many are there total. As of April 2020, the current world population is a staggering 7.8 billion. This means that if the wizarding community took up 1/10 of 1% of the population, we'd still be left with 780,000 witches and wizards across the globe. The Harry Potter series only exposes us to such a small percentage of the wizarding world, primarily focusing in on one wizarding school in one particular area of one country. Granted, Hogwarts is the only wizarding school in the UK, but you get my point. If you're anything like me, then at some point this has probably caused you to ask yourself the question, how many witches and wizards are there? We know for certain that magical people don't only exist in the UK, and that magical folk are taught at a variety of wizarding schools across the globe. We've got Hogwarts in Scotland, Beauxbaton in France, Castelo Bruxo in Brazil, Durmstrang in Northern Europe, Ilvermorny in Eastern North America, Mahu Tokoro in Japan, Ugadu in Uganda, Koldovstorets in Russia, and more. The list goes on. In order to begin formulating a reasonable answer to this, let's take a look at the number of students that attend Hogwarts. In an interview in October 2000, Rowling was asked, how many students attend Hogwarts? And how many students are there in each house? Rowling replied with a very to the point, there are about 1,000 students at Hogwarts. While it would be nice to just take Rowling's word for it, she has a history of saying things in interviews that heavily conflict with the world she has introduced us to. If there are 1,000 students at Hogwarts, then that would mean that there are 250 students in each house. Students attend Hogwarts for 7 years, which means that there would be approximately 36 students from each house per year. If there are an equal number of boys and girls, that would mean 144 students, 72 boys and 72 girls, that start at Hogwarts each and every year. This really doesn't add up with what is depicted in the books or portrayed in the films. A more widely recognized figure, or at least a more widely fan-appreciated figure, is 280 students at the school total. That's 70 students from each house and 10 new students per house per year. This seems to be far more consistent with the world that we've been introduced to, so I'm going to roll with that figure moving forward. Okay, so that means that we have 40 new students that start at Hogwarts each year, and this figure represents the new magical students from the UK alone. Now, the population of the UK in 2020 is approximately 68 million. This means that new Hogwarts attendees account for approximately 0.000058% of the total UK population, and all 280 of the Hogwarts attendees account for 0.00041% of the total UK population. To put things into perspective, there are approximately 10 million students that attend regular schools, all ages, in the UK. This figure represents 14.7% of the total UK population. 280 is 0.0028% of 10 million. This means that for every one Hogwarts student, there are 35,714 regular students, which gives us a ballpark figure of one magical pupil for every 35,714 muggle pupils. Using this statistic, we can begin to form at least an estimate for a figure revealing the total number of magical folk in the UK. This is of course assuming that wizarding folk procreate about the same amount as muggles. Since we know that the number of full-time muggle students in the UK accounts for 14.7% of the entire UK population, we can rather safely apply this same figure to the total number of Hogwarts students. 280 divided by 0.147, or 14.7%, equals 1,904. This means that if the number of magical students attending Hogwarts has any sort of relationship to the number of Muggle students attending Muggle school, then we can safely assume that the UK has a wizarding population of approximately 1,904. This would include parents, teachers, Ministry of Magic staff, and everyone else. But that's for the UK alone. In an interview, Rowling has stated that she imagines the wizarding population of the UK to be around 3,000. But given her history and the answer that she provided regarding the number of students at Hogwarts, I'm not sure that we can trust that. I feel much more comfortable with my own figure of 1,904, from which we can derive 0.0028%, which represents the total number of magical folk as a proportion of the country's total population. So that's the UK sorted. Next, we need to look at the other countries where wizarding schools exist. As populations vary from country to country, it wouldn't make much sense to assume that wizarding schools in other countries accommodate the same number of students as Hogwarts. We need to look at school attendees as a percentage of total population. From this, we can derive the total number of magical folk that reside in these countries. Though there are 11 wizarding schools in total, these are the only ones that we know about. UK, obviously, France, Brazil, Uganda, America, Japan, Northern Europe, and Russia. Let's start with Beauxbatons in France. The population of France is actually very similar to the UK, at around 65 million, and assuming that the percentage of magical folk in France is comparable to the UK, it would give us a figure of 1,820 magical folk, and a student population of 267. Next, let's move on to Brazil, which has a population of 212 million. Using the same formula, this would give us a total magical population of 5,936, and a student population of 827. Uganda has a population of 45.7 million, which leaves us with a total magical population of 1,279, and a student population of 188. The US has a population of 330 million, which leaves us with a total magical population of 9,240, and a student population of 1,358. Japan has a population of 126 million, which gives us a total magical population of 3,528, and a student population of 518. Northern Europe has a population of 106 million, which gives us a total magical population of 2,968, and a student population of 436. And lastly, Russia has a population of 144.5 million, which gives us a total magical population of 4,046, and a student population of 594. There are also 3 other wizarding schools, 11 in total, but we don't have any information on them. The median figure for wizarding population among the 8 countries that we know is 2,436, which, multiplied by 3, is 7,308. 7,308 plus 22,839 from all of the other countries in the world equals 30,147 people. That's 30,147 magical people living in the 11 countries that have wizarding-specific schools. Now we just have to figure out the rest of the world. Now, I think that we can safely assume that the places where magical schools reside have denser magical populations, as the demand for a magical school would be higher. But just because other countries don't have a magical school, it doesn't mean that they don't have a wizarding population. For this reason, I'm going to somewhat arbitrarily assume that these countries have a magical population that is half as dense as the countries with magical schools. This would mean that countries outside of the 11 above have a wizarding population density of 0.0014%. I'm not sure if this is gratuitous or not. The total world population, excluding the 8 countries that we know about, is 7.8 billion, and if we subtract 1.1 billion, accounting for the 8 countries, we're left with 6.7 billion. The median population of the 8 countries that we know about is 116 million, which, multiplied by 3 to account for the 3 mystery countries, is 348 million. 6.7 billion minus 348 million equals 6,352,000,000. Next, we're going to apply the population density of 0.0014% and apply it to the remainder of the world population. This gives us a figure of 88,928 magical folk that inhabit the rest of the planet. Add this 88,928 to the 30,147 that come from countries with wizarding schools, and boom, we have our total wizarding population of 119,075. This would mean that magical folk account for 0.001526% of the population, or 1 in 65,500. Think about the population of the city or town that you live in. How many witches and wizards are there? A figure of 119,075 total and 1,904 in the UK makes quite a lot of sense, especially if we consider the fact that wizarding operations are conducted in an entirely secret other world that runs parallel to the regular world. If the population was similar in size, the two would undoubtedly collide more often. A larger population would also mean many more violations of the Statute of Secrecy, which for the most part seems to be well regulated by the Ministry. While I'm mostly happy with this figure, there are many variables involved when calculating something like this, so I'm sure I've missed something. What do you guys think of the figure that I came to? If you guys have calculations of your own, then I'd love to hear them. Please share them down in the comments section below. Anyway, that's it for this video. Until next time, you're Wizard Harry!